Learning Black Gemara. Today's daf is daf Samach, and we are up to the Mishnah. We're continuing to go through all the different averas that incur a punishment of skila. So it says the Mishnah, Hamechal is a Shabbos. If somebody mechal Shabbos, the dover in a matter, Shechayavin als doine karis. If you did it deliberately without any witnesses, you'll get karis. And for a carbon, if a shaigi, if you inadvertently didn't realize that this is forbidden on Shabbos, you get a carbon chatas. So you're saying over here that someone's mechal Shabbos in those things that that you bring incur carbon chatas. Sounds like from here that there are certain malachas on Shabbos that don't incur carbon chatas. What's that? Says Miklau. From here it would seem the ika midi. There are things. Remember, we're talking about skila. So you have skila if there were witnesses, karis if there weren't any witnesses, and shegig bechatas. And you say those are averis. So there are certain malachas on Shabbos that doesn't get the full punishment. Because you don't get karis, skila, and chatas. What's going on here? Mai, what is it? Gemara says yes. Tchumin v'liba d'Rabbi Akiva. There is tchumin. According to Rabbi Akiva, it's forbidden. Tchum Shabbos, walking a certain distance is forbidden. The Rambam actually paskins halacha l'maisa that walking on Shabbos more than 12 kilometers is asur mahatera. We paskin the Russian, or the Rishonim paskin that no, we hold there's no tchum Shabbos at all from the Torah, only midrabanan. But even according to Rabbi Akiva, that says that tchum Shabbos is from the Torah, but there's no carbon chatas, there's no skila involved. Or have ora elibud Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi says that we had it just a few days ago. Why does the Torah highlight leisavaru eish? Don't light a fire in your midst. Why does it not light fire? To tell you that fire is different from all other malachas. You don't get skila if you did it. If you don't get stoned, if you did it deliberately, and therefore there's no chatas and chorus. So no, according to Rabbi Yosi, there's actually only 38 malachas. When we tabulate 39, that's according to the Rabbanan. According to Rabbi Yosi, there's only 38 malachas. There is another one, Isa ben Yehuda. Isa ben Yehuda says that there's one malach on Shabbos that you don't get killed for, and we don't know what it is. And the Gemara says we don't know what it is, that over there in Shabbos. So the fact that we say we don't know what it is, obviously it's not going according to Rabbi Yosi because it's been very easy. It's talking about fire, and it's going according to Rabbi Yosi, and that's the malacha you don't get killed for. The fact that the Gemara in Shabbos says we don't know which malacha it is means it's a different malacha, but we don't know which malacha it is. So in fact, there's a big question if a Bezdin B'chal can ever give skila, because maybe that's the malacha Isa ben Yehuda says that you don't get killed for. True, but in fact, according to Yehuda, a Bezdin can never kill anybody. If the Gemara doesn't mention here that's because even according to Yehuda, a carbon chatas you do bring. You don't get killed for it, but you do bring, as the Gemara says, Rashi says in Masechta Shabbos. Mishnah. Next Mishnah. Somebody curses his parents. You're not chayiv, and you get skila for that. You strike your parents, you get chenek. Makav b'vima, you get chenek. But Mekalel, we used to be sticks and stones will bring, whatever, and names will never harm me. It's really the other way around. As you see right here. You're not chayiv until you curse them with Hashem's name. Kilam bekinui, but if you used a kinui, one of not the two names Yud Kei Vav Kei or Aleph Dalet Nun, but you use a kinui, Rachum, Chanun, one of the other things that Hashem is known by, then a mayor says Chai, but Chacham say Yapat. That's not the mekala that you get killed for. You did an avera, but it's not the skilled one. So when man chachamim who is chachamim when Menachem yisitang when Menachem says in pasuk, if somebody somebody curses Shem Hashem Mois Yumas, and then the pasuk finishes off the Nakvay Shem Yumas. Now before we learned the Gemara from here, we learned out Yosi Yaka Yosi. That you have to have Hashem's name in the beginning, you have to have Hashem's name at the end, because it says twice. The Noikiv Shem Hashem, and then it concludes Benok V'Shem. But Menachem Yesh doesn't agree with that, so he says, "What do I do with the second Benok V'Shem?" In order to be chayiv for being Megadif, you don't have to be Yosi Yaka Yosi, even just Yaka Yosi or Yosi Yaki is enough. So Menachem Yesh says, "Benok V'Shem, you must what do you do with that?" Matam Aleimer Shem Limud Al Mekal of the Image and Chayil Kal B'Shem. Here is the second part of the pasuk is not talking about Kayochel, but it's talking about your parent. And we said before that parents is also the al derech cover of Hashem and so on. Tell them what we learned. It says in pasuk, a person curses as aviv as imay, aviv imay kinol damav boy. So it says in pasuk, ish matam lemer ish. What does it come to ish? Sorry, it says the pasuk ish says double ish. In Matam, we say ish. The second ish will tell you the rabbi's bas. We know that the Tate is written in Lashon Zachar generally, as the Rishonim point down. Tate says a number of places Shas including here, and but doesn't come to exclude women. But ish is different. If it says ish, it's a man. Ish the rabbi's bas to include a bas, also to include a tumtum. Then you have to wonder why you have to include a tumtum. A tumtum, we're not sure. It's the skin is covering over. We don't know if it's a male or female. So whichever one it is, you chayiv anyway. So what do you need a pasuk to be married about tumtum? So usually we say it's agav sircha nakid. No, it's just an expression. Whenever we say androgynous, we throw in tumtum as well. There's a machlekes. So because you would have thought androgynous is not a male or a female, androgynous has both signs. It's a third gender. So the pasuk will tell you that androgynous is also chayiv. Then it says, you curse your parents, ain't the ella of the ima. Maybe you have to curse both of them. What about it? You cursed only your father, or you cursed only your mother? How do you know you get punished? The pasuk finishes off. It repeats it again. It starts off kal es aviv es ima. Then it says ima aviv the ima kilo. Now the first time it says yikal, says first aviv and then ima. The pasuk when it finishes off, it says kilo. It says ima. Ima is closest to the word of kilel. Aviv ima kilel. So there's a klala on ima and there's a klala on aviv. So that's how you learn out. Aviv ima kilel, dama boy. Aviv kilel, ima kilel. Now with Divrei Rabbi Yisrael, you need a special drasha, not for the fact that we had that extra pasuk at the end, and it says the ima next to kilel. We would have thought taki, not chayiv. Aviv the ima, but it says and, the conjunctive and, it means it has to be both together. Comes on Rabbi Yisrael, the famous machlek. Rabbi Yisrael says no. Rabbi Yisrael says. The Torah says and, it can be and or. The Torah means dafka and. The Torah has to add the word yachtov. It actually says we find by climb. By climb it says you shouldn't mix the two animals. It says they're yachtov. And therefore we see from there when it says yachtov, that's when we mean dafka wool and lin together. But otherwise you wouldn't put them together. Tej already asks, so Rabbi Yeshua, why does he? Rabbi Yeshua hold even doesn't say yachtav means together, so why is it going to say yachtav by climb? And the answer is very pashut, because if it wouldn't have said yachtav, you would have thought that okay, you're not allowed to have, let's say, shatas, wool and linen. If you're wearing a woolen sweater and a linen jacket, maybe that's also shatnez, and therefore the Torah says yachtav that has to be woven together. Or you would have thought by climb animals, even if you have a cow. Holding a cow in reins, and you're holding another animal with the reins, but separately. They're not together in one yoke. You would have thought that's also usher. It says yachtav only together, so it doesn't prove anything. So Taisa says when the mother says here actually father because yachtav it means apisvara. Why should it be dafkid father mother together? It's only the Taisa is makes them together. Otherwise, one and all two zeros don't make a whole. Taisa's whole apisvara. So therefore, must be even the father alone and mother alone. Okay. Then Bryce continues. How do you know you get skila? Mois yumas. It says a passing of what happens to the one who curses his father. Mois yumas. Biskila, the punishment stoning. After him, biskila in the bachel come be some of the potato. Maybe it means chenek. Maybe it means one of the other misahano skila. So we had it before. Nemakana. It says here of the imakilo dom of boy. Yeah, blood on hand. Never lahalon. It says right there. It says by Oiva Yadoni, which we learned from there for everyone else. It says the mayem bum. It's the same idea. Malahalan, just like over there by Oividoni, it clearly says skila, and you get skila, so it says Evan Yirgamu Oisam, and then it says Mayan Bum. Yizavkam skila. Okay, so all we know from here is that you get punished. Skila, Azhara Menayim. Where do you find Azhara? They know curse your parents. It just says here that if you did it, this is what the punishment is. Tamaloima, you know what we learn that you know curse your parents? From an interesting pasuk where it says Elakim Loisekau. Shouldn't curse, shouldn't be Megada for Elikim, and we're going to incorporate in Elikim, as we'll soon see how, parents. And then it says also in the pasuk, the nasi ba'amcha loisar. Don't curse your leaders as well, your nasi. So we say, im haya aviv dayan, if your father, now remember, Elikim, it's also referring to a dayan. Remember, we learned that 3 dayanim from a keter, Elikim Yishboy. We learned that from a shayim, of a nikra balabais, Elikim. Elikim also refers to a dayan, authority. Elikim can be authority. So we say, if his father was a judge, don't talk about it. Nasi follows a Nasi. So right, so then he's including that. No, what about your father's ain't a loy dying of a loy Nasi? He's neither one of them, and I know you've high for cursing him. We say, we make this binyan av, a similarity, Mishnah. What are we going to say? That there's no common denominator between Nasi and Dayan. Two very different people have different rules, and yet the din is curse them. So therefore, you can't tell me, oh, a Nasi is unique, as we'll see in a minute, or a Dayan is unique, and that's why you're not allowed to curse them. But then how come the other one is also you're not allowed to curse? Must be that B'chlal you're not allowed to curse. Nasi, each one has their own chumrah. Each one has their own chumrah. So maybe you can't. What is that? But if a dying paskins, you're not allowed to rebel against his psak. By Yeshua, because the Rashi reads from Yeshua, it says, "Kol asher yimra pich," anybody who defies your psakim. Koroi nasi shetem tzu ala rasi. Lo rasi koroi dain shel nasi tzu ala rasi. By a nasi, sorry, but that's not for a dain. It's by a nasi. Yeshua was a nasi. By a nasi, we learn that you're not allowed to rebel against them. Koroi dain shetem tzu ala rasi. So by a dain, you have to listen to the psak, but you have if you say that his psak is wrong. There's nothing wrong with Matt, even though you don't follow it through. But saying by Nasi doesn't have, there's no psak to there to follow. But if you now be a mamre against the Nasi, Hatzad Hashem, you now rebel against. You now say you undermine it. Sorry, Hatzad Hashem, what's the common denominator? Shehein ba'amcha. The only thing you have in common between the Nasi and Zayin is they're both part of your nation. He's atamuzar kolasi. You now curse them. So so to your father, that if he behaves like we learned before, that he behaves like a normal Eid, he's in a position a little bit of authority over you, so therefore he can fit into that union of Elikim and Nasi. 1 second. Even though Nasi and Dain have different stringencies, but there's something in common between the two that an ordinary person doesn't have. It's their position that makes them so special. Nasi, Dayan. What about an average layman? It says another passage, you should even curse someone who's deaf and dumb. Even the downtrodden. Even the downtrodden, you're not allowed to curse. So surely you're not allowed to curse, your father, who's not downtrodden. Anymore, 1 second. It's the fact that he's a downtrodden, the fact that he is in his current condition, that he's challenged. Therefore, you have to be more careful with him. But an ordinary person who's not a leader, nor is he downtrodden, who says? And you get skill for it. No, you see, don't do with downtrodden, but I and Nasi Dain, and not downtrodden. 1 second. But Malas Dain, you can go also They're also unique. They're privileged. Go back and forth. They're all different from each other. What's in common? That they're part of your nation, and you have to be careful not to curse them. Also bring in along your father. It's a pretty lengthy limit to work at your father. You would argue it means every year then. Why after your father? So it has to be a little bit of position of, first of all, you have the punishment, it says by Makal, we said before. Actually, Kal's obviously, but also there's a little bit of position of authority above you. The mitzvah to respect them, fear them. 1 second. The fact of the matter is, forget what it is, but they're all different. They're all from the miyat. How do you know your father, which is the ordinary common folk? I know that included. So we learn how to forget the binyanav. You know how we know? Let it say the passage. We're talking about Elikim means only the Abish. Let it say Elikim or the Chedesh and Nasi. Nichtav kra oy Elikim b'Chedesh, oy Nasi b'Chedesh. If you have Gedulasam, why do you need 2 examples of Gedulasam? We're still learning right now binyanav. But why do you need Elikim and Nasi? Say Elikim and Chedesh, or Nasi and Chedesh, and then you would say the fact that they're different. It's not their position, because you say the position doesn't matter. The fact that they're different. Why do you have to have all 3? If one of them is extra, either the Nasi or the Elikim. If you don't need it for itself, if you've got somebody in a higher position, that's no lenient law. It's referring to the father. This is good if you learn Elikim is talking about a Dayan. That's how we learn right now. Elikim is Dayan. and then Nasi, and you're asking why you have to have a Dayan and a Nasi, one or the other. If it's not the Chumrah that makes it, just the fact that they're different, no, we already one another. You already know that people are different, we're in a higher position. Okay. Elamand, I'm a Kodesh, also sees a Machlek tonight. Elakimi, Choshu, the Abish, the Mayi Klamema. There's nothing extra here. You have one about the Abish, you have one about a Nasi, and then you have one for a Chedesh. There's nothing extra here, so how you know a father is included? The Tanya, what's the story? The time we learned this Elakim over here says Elakim Loisekalo Chol. David Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel is talking about Pashat, a judge. And Rabbi Kiva Elakim is Kodesh. The Tanya learned Rabbi Yaakov Omer as Hor Lemevorech Hashem Enayin. How do you know that you're not allowed to be Megadev? Talmud Loimer comes to tell you Elakim Loisekal. How do you know that you're not allowed to be a blasphemer? Because it says Elakim. In other words, Elakim is referring to the Eibishter. So Gemara said, the one who says that Elakim is dying. So how do you know you can't curse Eibishter? Is a Gomar Kodesh B'Chayil. It's like a Kalbachaymer. If a dying you're not allowed to curse Elakim, of course you're not allowed to curse. Okay, the man Elakim Kodesh, and the one who says that Elakim is Kodesh, then Gamrinan Chayil Mikodesh. So you compare a dying to the Eibishter, you're not allowed to curse. I don't understand what you're saying here. If you learn that Elakim is a dayan, then of course you can learn Kodesh Mechel. For dayan, you're not allowed to curse. So for the Eibush, of course, you're not allowed to curse. El Mandam Elakim Kodesh, the one who said that Elakim is a cow, is referring to the Eibush. Gomar Chol Mekodesh. How do you learn? How do you equate a dayan to the Eibush? Dilma Kodesh Azer Achoyla Azer. Maybe the Azhar is only now Elakim is the Eibush, but there's no Azhar here for a dayan. Moshe says no. You know how we know? Im kain lichtem kro loy seiko. Just say loy seiko. Don't curse. Why double lamed? My loy sekalel. The double lamed means there's two different kinds of curse that I want to do. The two different meanings or interpretations of the word Elakim. We're not comparing the two. You thought we're comparing Koil and Kodesh. No. The word loy sekalel incorporates two different double. And Elakim has two different interpretations. We'll incorporate both. Shvamanatarti. From here, learn out, we're talking about both Elakim and Dayan. Says in Mishnah Vaitze, the next thing we learned in the previous Mishnah skill is the list of skill is Halbo al Naida Merasa, a girl is engaged. But remember, a girl is only a Naira. Once she's a baguette is over 12 years old and she commits adultery, then we don't have this whole din of skilla at all. What is the punishment? We'll see. You get chenek. The Mishnah says a few conditions. It has to be a naira between 12 and 12 and a half. Upsula, first time. And Moirasa has to be engaged. Three conditions you have to meet before she is chayiv skill. And she's still, it says a pasuk, and she's still at home. That means that what? That she didn't yet go to her. She didn't. The father didn't send her yet with the shluchim of the husband, because once she sends her with the shluchim of the husband, she's no longer home. No longer she's naira merasa. What happened? Two people have relations with her. Harishan is skila because she's still a psula. And the second one gets chenek. Now, what's the chiddush? She's no longer a psula. We're talking about she's still a psula because the first one did it shaloi kedarka, and the chiddush did not do it the conventional way. The chiddush is because we use the expression mishkevei isha. This Mishnah holds because we say mishkevei isha, so we say that either way, you're chayiv for adultery. Either way, chayiv adultery. But as far as naida hamorasa, she is still a psula. You would have thought that a psula she still is. Kamashalan, that she's no longer considered psula as far as this din of naida hamorasa. According to this Mishnah here. We'll see later. The first one is skila, and bahasheni is bechenek. So this follows the Tana that holds that even Shalei Kedarka turns her from a psula into a bu'ula. Says the Gemara, I don't know what we learned. It says in Pasig, Naida, it says Naida, but late begettes. Not once she is 12 and a half years old, then this din does not apply. Then you know what it means to apply. She no longer gets skilla. Psula, it says in Psula, not if she is no longer a virgin. Me'oiras engaged, once she's married, it's chenek. The base of the, it says by a mighty Shemra, it says there, Liz nice base of via, she's mizana while she was at home with her parents, when it says the skill as well. Prat l'shemasar of l'shluchibal. Once the father gave it over to Shluchibal, she's no longer base of via. That this our Mishnah that says until there's a machlekes, what's it in by Ketana? Let's say the father married her off, she's considered a married woman. He got her engaged, she's a married woman. Do we also have the din that if she commits adultery, that she is chayiv or not? So he says over here, our Mishnah says neither. So he comes along, he says, these are the words of Rab Meir. Our Mishnah seems to be saying only a neither, not a Ketana. But Meir holds that a ketana ain't no knas if somebody's mafata her, ma'anas there's no knas because there's no knas. So the Chayr Meir holds the same thing will apply here as well. Naida means dafka naida and not a ketana. The Mishnah says clear naida. No, the ketana there's no skill or anything else for the guy. Aber Chachamim say naida morasa fil ketana masha. If mahatoida she's engaged, then it includes even a ketana. The person gets skill. How do you Meir? Go on. The Mishnah says neither. Maybe the purpose of the Mishnah is saying neither, but not begettes. Not referring to a ketana. Because not that common that people get married as a ketana. The Mishnah is out to tell you that this din of naira marosa skill is only by naira, not by begettes. Not to exclude a ketana. Well, the mutter Tani in Amna, how do you know it's coming to exclude Tana? Dilma made the author of the Mishnah Rabbanim, well, the mutter begettes only coming to exclude begettes. Number one. Evasula say no more. Amalei said to him, look at the lush of the Mishnah. The words of the Mishnah. You're not chayv ad shetei naida psula. It sounds. This is the only time. This is the window. Naida, which is 12 and 12 and a half, and that's it. Not above and not below. In the chayv al naida psula muras ad shetei naida psula muras in the chayv el al naida psula muras is about naida psula midi. That's the only time you chayv is a naida psula, nothing else. So therefore, our Mishnah holds that Kana you're not chayv skill for. You get maybe chenek, but not skill. Okay, coach, I made a hold that if you borrow there's no skill. So what happens? Nothing happens at all. You walk away free, or you just get a different punishment. Do we say that you don't get killed at all? I miskill in mamidla. Now, why shouldn't you get killed at all? Oh yeah, should you get chenek or you get nothing? Now, why should you get nothing at all? This is more explained. Only skill. Why should you go away? Why should you walk away scot free? You still chayv. Look, see, this is the problem. It says in the pasuk that if that relation, it says umesu gam shneim. So you would have thought that when does the male perpetrator get the misa? Only the female involved gets misa as well. It says mesu gam shneim. Since the Tana does not get punished, so maybe he also doesn't get punished. That's the most question. Umesu gam shneim achi yeshneim shavin until both get punished. Shosik Rav. Rav was quiet, didn't answer. Shmuel says that we have a chassidus that Shosik Rav doesn't necessarily mean he concedes. Shosik Rav can mean that it was such a partial thing he didn't hear. It was in Chochmah, in the Etzem Chochmah, where you couldn't articulate in words. But he knew, his gut feeling was that that's how it is. Shmuel, my time was Rav. Rav was right, but why was he quiet? But namely, he should have answered. It says in another pasuk that if he raped a girl out in the Sada, it's totally not her fault. And what happens in that case there? It says, Only the man dies. Obviously, it's obvious. She was raped. She had nothing to do with it, and he forced himself upon her. Why does the Torah then have to spell out only levada? Since you don't need it here, come tell you somewhere else. That even if she's a ketana, and the man is a gadol, that he's chayiv misa, even though she won't get misa. Umeisi, even though it's talking about different cases. Umeisi, he says, he should have said that pasuk is extra to tell you that the man dies, he gets chenek, even though she's a ketana. So you might have emphasized ketanoid, it's a machlekes tanoim. Umeisu gam shneim. One opinion says gam shneim ad sheyiu shneim shavi. They both have to be punished. Says you already asked her, how can we find by a bas kohen she gets safe and the man gets chenek? They're not shneim. So Teisa takes literally shoving means some unfortunately shot shoving means they both get killed. It doesn't matter whether they get different a different punishment. And Al problem is that one will get punished and one won't. Takes literally that both get killed, exact same punishment. Says when by a bas coin. So takes the answer there because we have another pasuk. It says by Edom Zaymin, Basisim and we say that they'll get punished what you give to the man, and not what you mean out to the woman. So there the Torah clearly overrides that pasuk. And Rabbi Yeshi says that the man will not get killed because the girl doesn't get killed. And Rabbi Yeshi makes the pasuk tells you that he sometimes get killed even though she doesn't get killed. Said he and the Rabbi Yeshua, what does he do? And what does Rabbi Yeshua do? Gam Shneim. My daughter's baby. He says, Gam Shneim. They both have to have some kind of hana, some kind of satisfaction from what happened. But if it's Mais Chedudim, which means it's totally external to her, then there's no misa involved here at all. How does he learn that out? Mais Chedudim, lav klumi. It's not sneers and it's terrible, it's vulgar and promiscuous, but it's not intimacy. And therefore I don't need a pasuk for that to tell you that this is not called adultery. Now Rabbi Yeshua high levade my daughter's bed. What do the pasuk about? He says, Kidatanya, we learned. 10 people had relations with her. And she's still psul. In other words, you all went the unconventional way. They went anally. Kulam beskila. They all get skila because as long as the conventional way you haven't yet had intimacy, you can still be a psula. On the other hand, they all get skila because every single one of them had relations with a psula, even though the way they had relations is unconventional. It's still considered adultery, but she's still a psula. Rebbe says that she's no longer psula. Once, even if it's done the unconventional way, it's not the psul in the Torah. The psul in the Torah has never had any experience. It doesn't matter conventional or non-conventional. The kulan b'chenek. That's like our mission is already at the end. The first person is skila, and the next person is chenek. Now, if she's not a psul anymore, what do you tell me? The chiddush is that even though it was unconventional, so the chayla, according to the Rabbanan, she's still a psula, so she gets skila. And our Mishnah, yeah, exactly. But our Mishnah follows Rebbe. The sheni gets chenek. The second one gets chenek. Said the mother learned ubas ish koyin, the daughter of a koyin, kiseicha lizna is when she's mechalul and when she's desecrated and she has news. Rebbe says techila. Rebbe says first the chenu oimer, whatever that means, we'll see in a minute. The chenu oimer, it says v'meis ish asher shochav imo levadei, and so too it says that the person who commits adultery with her only he gets killed. But the mother might come up. What's Rebbe trying to say here? Remember, we have 3 opinions there what the punishment is. Whether the girl gets a skila or the girl gets a narusa gets skila or streifa. But then Rabbi Shmuel says that even though he agrees with the Chachamim that a narusa gets skila, but he holds that by a bas kohen. The question about bas kohen, a narusa, what happens to her then? Because according to Chachamim, skila is stricter than streifa. So according to Chachamim, bas kohen gets skila. Why should she get a lower punishment? But Shimon holds, I hold streifa stricter, so a bas kohen therefore will not get skila if she's an engaged woman. She will get streifa. However, what happens to Nesu? Everyone agrees he gets chenek, except Rabbi Shmuel. He agrees with Chachamim regarding an engaged or an arusa, but when it comes to a married woman, he says that a bas kohen gets streifa, not chenek like everybody else. So Rebbe holds Rabbi Shmuel, arusa yotza l'streifa v'loy nesua. He holds that a bas kohen. So Rav Shimon Acham said bas kohen gets streifa nesua for sure. The argument is regarding an arusa. Rabbi Shmuel says no. When it comes to a bas kohen who is married, she's no different than everybody else about Israel because it says the pasuk bas kohen. This is what desecrated her, not when she's already married, and therefore you only get chenek. So Rebbe agrees with Rabbi Shmuel that the din of bas kohen only applies to the first stage of engagement, but once she's married, she's like everybody else. So im tchila bia biznus b'sreifas, only if this is the first biznus. No, but she's only engaged. Only then you get streifa. But once she's married, there's no streifa anymore. She's no different than anybody else. That's what Rabbi is saying here. The idal b'chenek. So he must fine. So my b'chein, what's he then comparing it to? He said the same thing. It says that a man, gets punished levada if she was a katana. We learned from the or if he raped her. What's up with anything here? Look over there. It's talking about over there that she was a naira marasa that he raped her in the field. This is the first time. That's how we know. That's exactly what he's saying. Means this has to be only when she's engaged. So this is the first time. Not once she's married. Once she's married, a bas kohen is no different than everybody else. And that's what he's comparing it to. The case there, a man rapes an arusa. Exactly, and none of that. We say that once went to the chuppah, she's already considered a bula. Not like by the goyim, if we had before that from Zion. Not by the goyim, that the goyim is only when they have intimacy that she's no longer considered psula. Oh, that'd be. The others are Rusa, yeah. Amalei Rabbi Barabai Rabbi Barabai said that our teacher didn't say that. Raman, who was the teacher, Rabbi Yosef, Abaya's son Rabbi also lived by Rabbi Yosef, or he heard this from his father Abaya. Uman Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Kirameisrila. You say that he holds like Rabbi Shmuel that what a bas kohen who's married gets because no longer the first time, therefore she gets everybody else. No, Rabbi Yosef said that he holds like Rabbi Meir. The Amma Nisas that what that if she was a bas kohen always gets streifa. I don't care, engaged, married, like a chachamim. But if she married someone that desecrated her, she should not have married. Then and after that, she committed adultery. She no longer gets reifa. She ruined her bas kohen. She ruined her yichus. Bas kohen kiteichelism. This is what caused the desecration. This adultery that she committed now. But if she was already desecrated before because she married someone that she'd never have married, then she's no longer treated like a bas kohen and she no longer gets reifa. So see, that's what Rabbi's saying it. Rabbi Gamei said, and if she married someone that she should not have married, someone who's disqualified to her, misasa bechenik, then she no longer desecrating now the kuna. She already did it a while ago. This is what he says. If this is the first time he desecrated because of this nus that she did right now, okay, then streifer. But if she already did the wrong thing before, there's no streifer. And after that, she only gets chenik. They say, so what's the comparison to this person who raped this woman? Is only what does it do with anything here? We say, right, Simona Ba'alma. He's just talking about, he just similar to remember, the passage that he brings out this passage here. That's about these are just that this is the beginning of this. So nothing to do with this particular halacha.